All right, so let's get Dr. is it Eisenstein back on the witness stand.
Good morning.
Hello, good morning. All right, Doctor, you remain under oath from yesterday, okay?
Correct.
No. Okay, so, thank you. May it please the court?
Yes, the doctor is ready to go. It looks like he's still unpacking
Yeah, I'll wait.
from
I'm
where
gonna
I
wait
am.
for him.
I assume that's what's going on.
Good morning.
Good morning. You all settled?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Sir, you are a neuropsychologist, correct?
Correct.
That is what you've done for, you said, 4 decades, correct? Or about, approximately.
Correct.
Okay. And you maintain, or you did at some point maintain, clinical practices? Is that correct?
I still do.
You still do? Okay. So in addition to your forensic work that you do, where you consult with attorneys like Ms. Toomey, for Mr. Murphy, you do clinical practice where you see patients?
Correct.
But Mr. Murphy is not a clinical patient, correct?
That's correct.
All right. And consulting in legal cases like this, specifically capital murder cases where you would testify in penalty phase, you would consult to determine if there's mental health mitigation, that's a major part of what you do in your forensic work, correct?
Correct.
Right. So this isn't the first time you've come into a penalty phase like this in front of a jury and testified.
Correct.
Right? After your client's been found guilty, you come in and you're going to testify to what your findings are, correct?
Correct.
All right. You are not a medical doctor, correct?
Correct.
You're not a psychiatrist, correct?
Correct.
Those are 2 distinct things. Would you agree with me?
Correct.
Okay. So you did go, or you did some work at Yale University, but you didn't go to school there, their medical school, to seek a medical degree, correct?
Correct.
When you met with Mr. Davion Murphy, and I'm going to continue to refer to him as Davion Murphy because we have another Murphy sitting over here, okay? When you went to meet with him, did you advise him of the purpose and your role in the case?
Correct.
And you made sure he understood that, correct?
Yes.
And you told him it was your role, if I understand correctly, to evaluate him and assess this case for any potential mental health mitigation. Is that correct?
Correct.
And when you went through these tests, you explained to him the test, correct?
Correct.
That you administered? All right. And you did obtain a history from him, correct?
Correct.
So he would have known you were there not to hurt him, correct?
I'm sorry?
You were there not to hurt him. You were not there in an adversarial position, correct?
Correct.
You were not sent by the state attorney's office or the prosecution. He would have known that, correct?
Correct.
And you made sure he knew that, right?
Correct.
Okay. Doctor, this is not the first time in a penalty phase situation where you have examined a defendant that you have recommended that there be diagnostic scans, correct?
Correct.
So you've done that in other cases too, correct?
Correct.
Out of all the times that you've testified for a defendant in a penalty phase proceeding, and you've told us most of those were here in Florida?
Correct.
How many times do you believe that you recommended that they have some type of brain scan?
The vast majority.
Okay. And how many of those times that you've testified was that on behalf of the prosecution?
Always on behalf of the defense.
Do you know who Dr. Rubino is?
Yes, I do.
Have you worked on cases that he has been consulted by the same party?
Yes.
Okay. So one of the tests that you administered in this case was the TOMS, correct?
Correct.
The TOMMS?
It's TOMM.
I'm sorry, TOMM. But a lot of people will refer to it as the TOMS or the TOM test.
Well, it's an acronym.
It's an acronym, correct. What does it stand for?
Test of memory malingering.
Okay, so that's a test, that is a scale specifically designed to detect malingering, correct?
Correct.
And you don't tell the person that when you give them the test, correct?
Correct.
All right, so malingering is not giving genuine, reliable effort, correct?
Correct.
It's faking, basically, right?
Correct.
Okay. And how many times did you administer that test in this case?
Well, it's administered one time, but there's 3 parts to the test.
There's 3 parts to it, okay. So in that single administration, he is actually participating in 3 separate subtests or 3 tests?
Correct.
All right, but that's all done on the same day, is that right?
Correct. The same time.
Okay. How many days did you meet with the defendant, or did your partner meet with the defendant to administer testing?
I believe it was 7 times.
7 times. And your partner in your practice also participated in this, correct, with administration of tests?
Correct.
And she is a psychologist?
A licensed psychologist.
Licensed psychologist. Is she your spouse, sir?
Correct.
Okay. Now, your practice, you maintain this generally out of your house in Miami, is that correct?
No, we have an office.
You do have an office. Okay, my mistake. I thought you had most of your practice done out of your house. So you have an office where you meet with your clinical patients?
Correct.
Okay. So your assessment of the defendant's reliability and credibility and effort, that was only done on that one day, correct?
Well, with that particular test.
That particular test, yes. So the other test you're talking about is a subtest of the Wechsler Adult Intelligence Scale, correct?
That was 1.
Right, and that's a subtest that can be utilized to detect malingering, but it's not the primary purpose of that subtest, correct?
Correct.
So that's a test that, in the literature, you can utilize it for effort and to determine if there's been a genuine effort?
Correct.
Right? Okay, and that's one of the several subtests of the Wechsler?
Correct.
I want to say it correctly. That would be the WAIS, the Wechsler Adult Intelligence Scale, correct?
Correct.
All right. So on the other days where you were administering tests, is that it? Are those the tests that you administered for malingering?
No, we also gave the word choice, the advanced clinical solutions.
Okay. Is that a single test?
Correct.
And was that given on the same day as the TOM or on a different day?
It was a different day.
A different day, okay. So, on how many of the 7 days did you test for malingering?
Well, it was official tests were 3 times, but really it's throughout the evaluation itself. So it's 3 malingering measures on 3 different days.
On 3 different days out of 7, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So, even assuming that he wasn't hedging or faking in some way in those malingering measures and just was not detected, on the days when you didn't test him for malingering, you had no measure to assess whether he was. No measure. And I'm not talking about your clinical assessment. I'm talking about a measure, a test. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. Doctor, you are, this is a consulting business that you maintain, correct?
I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Well, it's part of your business to consult in these types of cases, correct?
Well, we're doing evaluations and we're assessing the individuals.
Yes, but you're getting paid for what you're doing, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so that's what I want to talk to you about. Can you tell us how much you're charging for your services, for your consultation with the defense?
$300 an hour.
And is that a flat amount that goes across anything you do in the case?
Correct.
Okay, so $300 an hour to administer tests
Correct.
and to conduct interviews,
Correct.
and $300 an hour during your testimony.
Correct.
All right, and when the state of Florida took your deposition, you sent us an invoice for $300 an hour, correct?
That's correct.
For the multiple hours in that deposition process.
Correct.
Okay. And do you charge any kind of fee for your travel from Miami to here?
Yeah, that's charged at a lower fee,
At a lower fee, what is that?
$125 an hour.
And is that actual travel time, or is that some kind of a flat fee?
No, it's actual travel time.
Okay. So at this point, have you submitted invoices for payment?
Yeah, up until this point, yes.
Okay. How many invoices have you submitted?
There have been several.
Several. Okay. Do you know the total amount that you've been reimbursed or billed for?
It's approximately $30,000.
Okay. And that doesn't include your testimony last night and today, correct?
That's correct.
Doctor, one of the things that you mentioned the DSM-5, correct?
Correct.
All right, and that is something you recognize as a diagnostic manual that is utilized by psychologists and psychiatrists?
Correct.
And you utilize it in your practice, correct?
Correct.
All right. And are you currently using the DSM-5 TR,
Correct.
the current version?
Yes.
Okay. But at some point, you were, I'm assuming, utilizing the DSM-5 that I'm holding up here?
Correct.
Okay, all right. When you're conducting testing and evaluation for cognitive functioning, correct? The DSM-5 and general practice in the field of psychology would indicate that you should, depending on the test scores, you should always seek collateral information, correct?
Correct.
And that was the part, that's why you interviewed the defendant and spoke to his mother.
Correct.
Okay. When the defense provided you the materials in this case, you've told us you've received several records, including medical records and school records that included psycho-evaluations of the defendant? Right?
Correct.
All right. Did they provide you with any of the law enforcement reports in this case?
I don't believe so.
Did they provide you with any video evidence in this case?
No.
Did they provide you with any of the video of the actual murder itself?
No.
Okay, were you aware that the actual murder was captured on video evidence?
Correct.
Okay, but they didn't provide that to you?
That's correct.
All right. And did they provide you any digital evidence like social media evidence
No,
or any audio, visual interviews, anything like that?
no,
Any deposition transcripts?
no,
Now, they didn't provide you any police reports, and they didn't provide you any of these videos, but you never requested those either, correct?
that's correct.
And you could have done that, right?
Correct.
Right. It would be fair to say that as far as that decision, in your position, you kind of drive the bus on that. You can make the decision to say, hey, I want all the police reports, I want any evidence that shows your client being interviewed or any statements he may have made, correct?
Correct.
And there was nothing to prevent you from making that request, correct?
Correct.
Now, were you aware that Mr. Murphy, Davion Murphy, had made a statement to the police?
Correct.
Right. Do you know the contents of that statement?
No,
Have you reviewed any of it?
no,
So you haven't even reviewed like a minute of it?
that's correct.
Would it surprise you to know it's 2 hours long?
No,
And in the interview, the defendant is being interviewed by detectives, law enforcement, right?
correct.
And the defendant is being questioned, at least in large part in the interview, about this case and about his culpability in this case. Were you aware of that?
No,
And in portions of the video, he is left alone in the interview room for several minutes on a couple different occasions and can be observed. Were you aware of that?
no,
And if the video was recorded and the defendant was interviewed approximately 7 months after the murder happened, that would be closer in time than any other information, collateral information you were provided, correct? And I'm not talking about your testing or anything like that. I'm talking about collateral information.
I'm not sure what you mean by collateral information.
Well, history given by the defendant or any records that were provided to you.
Well, I'm looking primarily at educational records. I'm looking at medical records. I'm looking at those as history. So that's where my primary focus is on.
Oh, yeah, I understand that. I think that's pretty clear. But if this interview occurred 7 months after the murder, you would agree with me that that is closer in time than any documented event that you've been provided through those records, correct?
Well, it's different. It's different times. It's different material.
Right.
It's a different look.
You're looking at, it's a different look at a different time in his life, correct?
That's correct.
You're looking at incidents that occurred when he was in elementary school. You're looking at incidents that occurred when he was 17, when he was 20, maybe when he was 25. This is 7 months after the commission of the murder that he's been convicted of. So that would be closer in time to the murder than all of those events that you were looking at, correct?
That's correct.
All right. And one of the things that would be important, and I'll come back to that, but one of the things that would be important in your assessment, since you're relying so heavily upon your neurocognitive testing of the defendant, would be an assessment, as you talked about, that you tested for of his effort, of his genuine effort in those tests, correct?
Correct.
And you would agree that if he is not giving genuine effort, then the tests are really not a good reflection, correct?
That's correct.
And a lot of your testing, you're trusting on him to give you effort, are you not?
Well, we're assessing for that.
But other than that, the time when you did assess for that, even when you assess for that, even if you gave him a test later that day or right after that, you're still going to be relying upon him to give you genuine effort, correct?
Well, again, that's my examination and evaluation of him. That's correct.
Right. And then on the days when you didn't test whether he was malingering or faking, you had to rely upon him. You had to trust him to give you genuine effort, correct?
Well, I'm not sure the word trust is correct. It's just giving effort in terms of what he's doing.
Right, but you're relying upon him to do that, correct?
That's correct.
So that you have valid scores and valid testing, correct?
That's correct.
All right. So, as a person who is analyzing and evaluating the defendant and his results on those tests, you have to consider any potential motive or bias that he may have to fabricate or to fake, correct?
That's correct.
All right. And, or not give valid effort, right?
Correct.
Okay. And looking at a 2-hour interview of your client by detectives, that could be critical in making an assessment of this person's reliability, correct? And their credibility,
Correct.
right? Okay. And having the facts of the case, the actual facts of the case, to be able to even make a more informed decision as to the credibility when he's being interviewed by the detectives, to be able to contrast what the evidence shows and what he's telling the detectives. That would be critical also, wouldn't it? Or could be helpful, right?
Correct.
It would have given you possibly a lot more data and a lot more information to consider his potential bias and credibility, correct?
Well, again, that speaks to that particular time, his responses, but I'm looking at it a different aspect.
So you would agree with me, as far as bias, that there is no one involved in this case. There's no one sitting in this courtroom that has more bias than Davion Murphy or these other defendants would have to potentially fabricate or fake their way through neurocognitive testing, correct?
That's a possibility.
Right, and they
But
have...
I evaluated for that, I assessed that, and I made a determination
I
that
understand.
he was not faking. I said that.
Right, I understand
and,
that.
And if he would have been faking, the test would have been quite different.
Well, what I'm asking you is, he has a bias, correct? An inherent built-in bias, right?
Everyone has a bias.
But he has a massive potential bias because he may potentially be facing the death penalty, correct?
That's correct.
And at the time you administered those tests, he was facing charges of capital murder and, if convicted, a potential death sentence, correct?
That's correct.
And he had that in his mind. That would have been in his mind when he was taking these tests, correct, that you were administering?
Well, again, as I stated, if he would have been faking on the test, they would have shown up, the scores, the results would have been quite different. That's not the case. So from a neurocognitive point of view, in terms of doing tests, assessing his cognitive abilities, I made the determination that he was not faking. If he would have been faking,
Yeah.
the results would have been quite different, my testing would have been different, and that was not the case.
Right. And I'm not asking you that. I'm asking about his potential bias, right?
But I think I answered that, and I think,
Right.
I'm telling you that during the
Okay, Your Honor, at this
examination,
point, I'm going to object that he's being non-responsive.
Well-
And now he's arguing with me.
Okay, all right, I think the question has been answered, so please ask your next question.
Okay. Okay, we established, you agree with me, that he has a very large and obvious bias. So my question to you is, that bias would have been in his knowledge and in the back of his mind when he was taking the test you were
I think I
administering.
answered that already.
And that would be yes, right?
No, the answer is no.
It wouldn't be in his mind?
Again, I think I answered that. You stopped me in the middle of
Okay.
my answer.
So you're telling this jury you do not believe that Davion Murphy would have had in the back of his mind, knowing that you're there to assist and help him, and knowing that you're there to find any potential mitigation, that he is potentially looking at a capital murder conviction and then a potential death sentence?
I didn't say that.
Well, that's my question.
That, of course.
I didn't ask you about your findings, about whether you think he's faking. I'm asking about his bias.
Well, of course, that's on his mind.
Now, going back to the interview of the defendant, assuming that the detectives had identified themselves and had identified what they were questioning the defendant about, all right, I just want you to be fully informed in this question. If the defendant lied to the detectives during that 2-hour interview, not once, but multiple times that could potentially also be critical evidence for you to look at as far as assessing his reliability, correct?
Well, it relates to that particular incident.
Well, it would relate to this person and whether he's telling the truth in a very pressure-tested situation, being questioned by detectives, right?
That's true.
Okay. And if he had the ability, and we're going to move now beyond looking at collateral evidence of his reliability or his trustworthiness, if he had the ability to fabricate lies where he is weaving them around facts. I was in Tampa, I was there Sunday, but I didn't get there till Sunday. And I know you don't know a lot about the facts of the case, but this is really to remind the jury in this question. He's able to lay into a weave of lies some facts to try to anchor in more that lie. That would be significant to you in your analysis and your evaluation of his cognitive ability, correct?
I told you, I think I answered that, and I'll answer it again.
Well, I haven't asked you about cognitive
Well, you just
assessment.
mentioned that. So if you want, I can answer that.
Okay.
You can ask
It
another
would be
question.
It would be critically important to that, right? Or potentially critically important to that.
Again, that is something on his mind, but that's what I did not evaluate what his state of mind was or his interview. That wasn't part of what I did.
Okay. Well, you would agree with me, it's not just something on his mind. That goes to his cognitive functioning, his ability to create lies out of whole cloth, correct?
Again, that's how he that's how he responded. My neurocognitive evaluation goes to another area altogether.
And you would agree with me, I think you said this yesterday. There is no perfect test, correct? I think you said that. There is no perfect test or test performance.
I'm not sure in what context.
I'm talking about your neurocognitive testing, especially the administration of the Wechsler Adult Intelligence Scale, that there is no perfect test or testing scenario.
Well, I don't think I said that. What I said was that the ultimate score of any test, there's room for error in terms of how it's scored and how it's interpreted.
Good enough. It's not 100%.
That's correct.
All right. And that's why there's a 5-point up and a 5-point down, and it's a band that it sits within, correct?
Correct.
In the ways. Okay. So you have that error rate of 5 points either way, correct?
Correct.
All right. The ability, well, let me rephrase. Were you aware or made aware of the fact that after the murder in this case, after the defendant had fled back to Jacksonville in the day or so, actually the same day as the murder, in the days, weeks, and months after that, that there was basically a manhunt going on in Duval County, Jacksonville, for this defendant? Were you aware of that?
Correct.
Okay. And there were advertisements by law enforcement on social media, on billboards, and on TV up there with the defendant's face being plastered around. You had been made aware of that?
I'm not sure to what extent.
Okay, all right. Considering that fact, and the fact, which is pointed out to the defendant in his interview by the police, that the defendant for 7 months was able to live in Jacksonville, the city of Jacksonville, and evade the police, evade capture. Wouldn't that be significant to your evaluation, that fact?
Again, I think I answered the question, but
No, this is a different question.
well,
Doctor.
it goes back to the same point that you're trying to make. The neurocognitive evaluation
I'm
is
not trying to
separate.
make any points, I'm just asking you a question. This would go to his cognitive functioning
No.
and your evaluation of that,
Okay,
correct?
again, I think I answered this, but let me answer it again. My evaluation of him was independent of what his conduct was at the commission of the crime or his behavior. I think I mentioned that, and I'm going to reiterate that,
Okay.
because I'm not going to discredit his performance based upon what his conduct was at the commission of the crime or how he conducted himself.
So your assessment was independent of his conduct or his mental state during the commission of the offense. That's what you're telling us?
I've told you that several times.
Okay. So let me ask you about this. You gave an opinion yesterday to this jury, did you not, doctor, that the defendant, the capacity of the defendant to appreciate the criminality of his or her conduct or to conform his or her conduct to the requirements of law was substantially impaired?
That's correct.
So are you talking about at the time the murder happened?
That's correct.
So you are giving an opinion about the defendant's mental state at the time the murder happened?
Right. That's correct.
Okay, that seems to be completely opposite of what you just told this jury.
That's not true.
Okay, so then going on from that, you also gave an opinion that the defendant was, the felony, the murder in this case, was committed while the defendant was under the influence of extreme mental or emotional disturbance, correct?
That's correct.
And again, you're giving an opinion about his cognitive state, right, at the time the murder happened.
That's correct.
All right. So let me ask you some questions about that. So since you didn't look at a shred of the police reports in this case or see any of the video of the murder in this case, were you aware of the fact that the defendant in the hours before the murder actively took efforts to conceal his identity from any camera systems or from detection by the victim and his friends? Were you aware of that?
He's harassing the witness, and this has been asked and answered repeatedly.
Overruled. Go ahead.
Were you aware of that?
No.
Okay. Were you aware of the fact that the defendant, when the murder happened, was dressed in all black, covering every part of his body except for his eyes, which had an orange or reddish colored ski mask on? Were you aware of that?
No.
That he took active measures to conceal his identity? Were you aware of the fact that the defendant, before shooting at the victim and his friends, snuck along, excuse me?
Objection. This is repetitive, and it's been asked and answered.
Overruled.
Were you aware of the fact that dressed up in that outfit with a high-powered rifle in his hands, that he snuck along behind a bunch of cars to avoid detection by the victims and took up a position of concealment? Were you aware of that?
No.
Okay. Were you aware of the fact that the defendant did not come out of concealment until he absolutely had to, as the victim was fleeing in his car in a desperate attempt to get away, that he then revealed himself and opened fire on the victim's car? Were you aware of that fact?
No.
Were you aware of the fact that as the victim was fleeing in his car, that the defendant actively, purposely, intentionally followed the victim's car, running towards it, and then opened fire as the victim was fleeing away from him? Were you aware of that fact?
No.
And were you aware of the fact that after shooting at the victim's car, the defendant immediately, without hesitation, turned and ran back to a getaway car where he then secreted himself from the crime scene in the middle of the darkness in the night? Were you aware of that, sir?
No.
Okay. Wouldn't all of those facts have been critical to your assessment in determining these two opinions as to whether the defendant's cognitive abilities were impaired at the time he committed the murder?
No.
Don't all of those facts demonstrate a person's ability to adapt, their ability to conceal themselves, and to make purposeful, intentional effort to do so?
Perhaps.
Okay. And your testing is just one component of cognitive assessment, correct? Under the DSM-5?
I'm not sure what you're asking.
Well, when you're assessing a person's intelligence or their cognitive abilities, IQ testing like the WAIS, that's just one aspect of it, correct?
I conducted a neuropsychological battery that consisted of many different areas of brain functioning, not just the IQ.
Right, I understand that. So in addition to your neuropsychological testing, the DSM-5 recommends, when you're determining cognitive ability, that you need to also look at adaptive behavior, correct?
That's correct.
Behavior where a person is able to adapt to everyday living conditions, correct?
Correct.
All right. And wouldn't you agree with me that adapting oneself to a living condition where you're consistently, continually aware that the police are seeking you out and attempting to locate you and find you, that adaptation would be critical to your assessment in this case?
I answered that already, and I said, again, my adaptive function that I did test for was not looking at those aspects.
Right, and the DSM-5 speaks to that, doing testing for adaptive behavior.
And I did that.
Correct. But the DSM-5 also speaks to looking at collateral information of adaptive behaviors, correct?
That's correct.
All right. Let's go through a couple of those, if you don't mind. I don't believe we heard about these yesterday. Let me find my glasses. So this would include the practical domain, which involves learning, which you've gone through, self-management across life settings. I'm reading directly from the manual, including personal care, job responsibilities, money management, work task organization. Would you agree that those are all adaptive behaviors that you need to look at?
Correct.
Okay. Further, the DSM-5 specifically states adaptive functioning may be difficult to assess in a controlled setting like a prison or a detention center. If possible, corroborative information reflecting functioning outside those settings should be obtained. Would you not agree with me? That's the exact setting that you were conducting your adaptive behavior testing in?
Correct.
In the county jail here in Hillsborough.
Correct.
And what I'm talking about is corroborative evidence outside of the jail, correct?
Well, what you're referring to is the case in point, which is not necessarily adaptive, and therefore I did not look at that.
Let me talk about some other adaptive behavior that we didn't hear about yesterday. So one of the things that you're to look at, as I brought up there, was job responsibilities and work task organizations, basically employment, the ability to obtain and maintain employment. You would agree with that, right? That would be an adaptive function?
Correct.
All right. When you interviewed Mr. Murphy, he gave you a work history, did he not?
Correct.
Okay. And the work history included his first job at Burger King, where he worked, I believe, for 6 months, correct? Do you remember that in your report?
I don't think it was Burger King.
If you look to, let me see if I can find it. If you look at the top of your page 4, Doctor.
I'm sorry, you're right.
Okay. So his first job was at Burger King preparing food, and he worked there for 6 months, correct?
Correct.
All right. He also worked as a dishwasher at Cracker Barrel, and he maintained employment there for 8 months, correct?
Correct.
All right. And he worked at International House of Pancakes for a couple of months, and Steak and Shake for 6 months as a grill cook, a short order cook, correct?
Correct.
All right. So that would demonstrate, would it not, his ability to apply for employment, right?
Well, not necessarily that he applied, but yes, he got the job. That what we know.
He got the job. And most jobs require some type of application and an interview, right, before
Correct.
they're hired?
Correct.
You would agree with that, right? Okay. So it required him to go through an application process, including an interview, answering the person who's reviewing it, whether it's an HR person or it's the manager of these facilities. He also worked at a place called SteelCon, where he was doing industrial fabrication of some type, right?
Correct.
And I believe he worked at Lowe's. Do you remember him mentioning that? I don't believe it's in your report.
I don't recall.
Okay. But he was able to apply and to obtain a job. And before any of that, he was able to, you would agree with me, to have the adaptive behavioral ability or functioning ability to understand that he needs to get a job to make money, right, to live,
Correct.
to sustain himself. So that goes to his personal skills, correct?
Correct.
All right. So, and then to have a job and maintain it, even for that long, is going to require that he follow their expectations for his position, whatever his duties are, his roles, correct?
That's correct.
He's going to have to show up on time, right?
Correct.
And give good effort in his work, correct?
Correct.
And short order cooks, that's a position that is under a time restraint normally, correct?
Correct.
At breakfast places like IHOP and even at Steak and Shake, there's a real incentive, I guess, put on speed and getting food out quick, correct, to the servers.
Correct.
I mean, I think everybody knows that if you ever go out to eat breakfast or dinner somewhere in a setting like that. So those things, you put that in your report. You didn't talk about it yesterday, but that would demonstrate adaptive behavior, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Doctor, I believe in your opinions yesterday, and you correct me if I'm wrong, have you provided any Axis 1 diagnosis in this case?
No.
Okay. There was, you mentioned yesterday there was a time period, let me look, where the defendant was prescribed Seroquel.
Correct.
It was a short time, correct?
Correct.
And you said Seroquel is an antipsychotic medication, correct?
That's correct.
That's what it was, I think, originally developed for and still is used, correct?
That's correct.
But it's also utilized to treat depression, correct?
Correct.
And anxiety.
Correct.
And especially in incarcerative settings, like in the Hillsborough County Jail, in low doses, 30 to 60 or 80 milligrams, it's utilized for insomnia or for inability to sleep.
Perhaps.
Okay. And in fact, I believe what he told you was it would make him tired when he took it.
Correct.
Okay. And so you don't know of any diagnosis of this defendant anywhere in the records you provided having any kind of an psychotic disorder, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Before I move on from work, I know it's not in your report, but you interviewed the defendant on multiple occasions for multiple hours, correct?
Correct.
And you've distilled that down to about a page and a half, correct, of history in your report?
Correct.
Did he advise you that at one point the Cracker Barrel job, maybe the IHOP job, those were jobs he held in the city of Orlando?
That's correct.
You remember that? Okay. So you were aware of the fact that the defendant was able to manage a move from his home of Jacksonville to the city of Orlando, correct?
Correct.
And all of the associated things that involves obtaining residence, paying rent, signing a lease, all of the things that you would think of when someone moves from one place to the other, right?
That's correct.
Okay. And he was able to do all of those things, correct?
Well, again, he wasn't living alone. There were some assistants. He was living
Right.
with a girlfriend.
For a part of that time.
Right. So
Yeah.
what he did and what he got assistance was, that's
Right.
unclear.
Still a move, though, right?
That's correct.
And that would show the ability to manage oneself through everyday life, correct?
That's correct.
All right. You would agree also, before I move on, as far as the work itself and being able to maintain employment, that a person in those positions that the defendant told you that he held, the work he held, would require someone to work as part of a team, right?
Correct.
To be able to get along with their fellow employees and work efficiently with them?
Correct.
Okay. And without getting into the specifics, he told you the reasons that he may have lost a job had nothing to do with merit or his ability to perform the tasks at the job, right?
Correct.
Okay, all right. Were you aware, did he tell you that at one point, because of the cost of living in Orlando, that he actually was juggling 3 jobs at the same time?
Correct.
And he actually lost one of them because he was trying to do 3 at the same time?
Correct.
Okay. You would agree with me, doctor, that financial responsibility is another adaptive function?
Correct.
So I want to talk to you about the ADHD diagnosis from his childhood. That was a diagnosis made at some point when he was a little boy, correct?
Correct.
All right. And you don't know who made that diagnosis, do you?
No.
And you don't know their level of education or what degrees they may hold?
That's correct.
You don't know their qualifications?
That's correct.
And you would agree with me, especially during that time period in our school systems in this country, a lot of little boys were being diagnosed with ADHD. You would agree with that?
Correct.
And he was seen by a Dr. Quinones at one point, a psychiatrist. Is that right?
Correct.
With his brother.
Correct.
Yeah. And Miss Beeks, Serena Beeks, his mother, took her boys to that doctor for about 3 years, right, when they were little?
Correct.
And you don't know what he treated them for or any diagnosis he may have made, correct?
Correct.
There's nothing to reflect that that doctor did anything in reference to ADHD, correct?
Don't know.
Okay. He was treated with medication when he was a little boy for ADHD, correct?
Correct.
Vyvanse, is that how you pronounce it?
Correct.
And Ritalin?
Correct.
And he stopped taking it when he was in adolescence because he told you he didn't like the way it made him feel. It made him feel slow and lethargic, right?
Correct.
But in fact, he told you even when he was a little boy that he didn't like the way this medicine was making him feel, right?
Correct.
And stopping the medication for a child who's been diagnosed with it in adolescence, that's not uncommon, is it?
Correct.
Now, you've talked about the defendant, some medical records you have suggesting that he had a motor vehicle accident. I think twice.
Correct.
Twice, okay. But his diagnosis with ADHD, that was years before that, correct?
Correct.
Now, yesterday, it wasn't discussed in your direct examination, I don't believe, and it may have been. If it was, then it's my mistake. There was a lot of ground covered, but he did give you a history of substance abuse, correct?
Correct.
And what he told you was he started using substances in his early adolescence, right?
Correct.
That included drinking copious amounts of alcohol, correct?
Correct.
Smoking marijuana,
Correct.
and I believe taking MDMA or ecstasy.
Correct.
And that's behavior that he told you has persisted into his adult life.
Correct.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but the DSM-5 always advises in anything that you're looking at, as far as mental health, that you need to rule out any kind of substance abuse and its effects or the effect it may be having on the person, correct?
Correct.
Your Honor, may we approach real quick?
Sure. Yep, come on up, Mr. Jimmy.
Neurocognitive tests, they're updated, like you talked about, like the WACE has been updated several times. And one of the things that the DSM-5 talks about with updating of tests is they try to make them more relevant to the current state of our culture and community, correct?
Correct,
So that it's not unfair to people taking it,
correct.
for lack of a better way of saying it. So I want to talk to you a little bit about this Texas Functional Living Scale that you utilized. This tested Mr. Davion Murphy on his ability, number one, to tell time on a clock, right?
Correct.
And he had to reverse the hour and minutes, and he had some difficulty drawing the correct time on a clock. Is that right?
Correct.
So you're talking about an analog clock with hands, right? Hour and minute, second
Correct.
hands?
Just like the one that's here.
Yes, just like that one. Thank you. I was looking around and I didn't see, oh, there's one over here too. Okay. And you would agree with me that at least watches are kind of being phased out other than smart watches for phones and smart watches, correct?
I'm not sure.
Okay. You have not seen that phenomenon in our culture?
Well, there's different options.
Right, there are, you're right. But people utilizing their phone or a smart watch to tell time, and it's going to be digital, correct?
But son, an individual needs to look at the clock and be able to read that as well.
No, I agree with you. I mean,
So that's current.
that certainly makes sense, but I would suggest to you that in the current day, people are moving away from that type of time telling. And
Well-
would you not agree with that?
There's other options that I said, but still, you have to know the skill to be able to look at the clock and say,
I'm not disagreeing with you. I think that would be a good idea. So let me talk to you about another subtest, money and calculation subscale. In this one, you have him in the severely impaired range because he was, at times he was able to count change correctly, but was more inaccurate than not in changing out dollar bills and coins that were placed in front of him. So I think you know where I'm going. Currency is kind of being phased out in this country too over the last couple of decades, right? People are using their credit cards, their debit cards to pay for things. They just swipe, or even better yet, and I don't know where my phone went, which is scaring me a little bit, so I'm using Miss Doherty's phone. People are using their phones. They just put it up to the register and it rings up, right?
people still use cash.
A lot of people do, I agree.
Cash has not been discontinued.
Okay. Then one of the other things you had, one of the next things, was difficulty writing out a check, right? A bank check.
Correct.
Okay. And in fact, Mr. Murphy told you he had never written a bank check,
Correct.
correct? You would agree with me as far as making payments like lease payments and rent payments and things like that. A lot of that occurs online now with bill pay, Venmo, PayPal, all kinds of things like that, right?
That's correct.
Mr. Murphy, another one from this test, did not know how to look up a person in a telephone book, right?
Now, what's significant about that is that it's
Enough.
true
Yeah,
that
go ahead.
telephone books perhaps have been discontinued, but the skill that we're looking at is going in alphabetical order, knowing the ABCs, and that's a skill that you need no matter what you're
Right.
using, what means of media that you're using. One has to know the alphabet in order to find anything that they're looking for.
Mr. Murphy is 28 years old, is that correct? He was born in 28 years old at the time of your test that you wrote?
Correct.
Okay. January 10th, 1997.
That's correct.
Okay, so he's 29 now.
Correct.
Okay. You would agree with me that there is a large section of the 20-year-old population in this country that have never laid eyes on a telephone book, correct?
Again, I mentioned that even though it's discontinued.
I understand.
So you have to know the alphabet. That has not been discontinued.
Now, another thing he had to do was address an envelope correctly, correct?
Correct.
And he had problems doing that?
Correct.
He was able to follow written directions and to describe the steps necessary to complete a simple task, though, correct?
Correct.
In fact, you wrote in the last section of that test before you moved on to the Kaufman Functional Academic Skills Test that he was able to carry out an instruction after some time had elapsed and was able to remember most of the factual information presented.
That's correct. The skills are varied.
On the reading subtest of the Kaufman Functional Academic Skills Test, he had a standard score of 82, right?
Correct.
Which put him in the below average range.
Correct.
Okay. Going on to your executive functioning testing, the DELIS, that's DELIS, Kaplan Executive Function System Verbal Fluency Test. A measure of letter fluency, is that right? Category fluency and category switching.
Correct.
All right, I'm just reading from your report. He scored in the low average range, correct?
Correct.
And in fact, his category switching was in the average range, right?
Correct.
Okay. I'm going to make sure I say this right. Tactual, is that the way you say it? Is that
Correct.
the way it's pronounced? Tactual, tactual performance test, which is a measure of tactile form recognition, memory for shapes, and spatial location, as well as psychomotor problem-solving ability while blindfolded, right?
Correct.
Okay. He was tested on his total time in the average range, correct?
Correct.
He was able to complete the assignment in 4 minutes and 13 seconds, which was in the average range, is that right?
Correct.
And on the second trial, using his non-dominant right hand, he was able to complete the assignment in 4 minutes, 4 seconds, which was in the mildly impaired range, correct?
Correct.
And in fact, on the third trial, when he's able to use both hands, because part of this test he's using his dominant hand, part of it he's using his weak hand, now he's allowed to use both hands, he's in the average range, right?
Correct.
Okay. He was able to localize 6 of the shapes in their correct locations, which put him into the average range. Is that right?
No.
Uh,
Yes, yes, correct.
Okay, all right.
He remembered 6 out of the 10, which was moderately
Moderately impaired range. On the Wisconsin card sorting test, a measure which assesses the ability to form abstract concepts, to maintain and shift set, and to utilize feedback. He completed 7 categories, which put him in the average range, right?
Correct.
And then he committed 6 perseverative errors. Did I pronounce that right?
Perseverative.
Perseverative, which put him in the average range of functioning.
Correct.
Okay. In the learning and memory section, you administered a test called the Brief Cognitive Status Exam. In this test, which tested for auditory memory, visual working memory, immediate memory, and delayed memory, he scored consistently in the low average range with a borderline score on the visual working memory. Is that right?
Correct.
And you noted the scores were, again, better than expected compared to his IQ scores, correct?
Correct.
Auditory memory index, was that another test that you administered?
That was part of the Wechsler memory scale.
That's part of the Wechsler memory scale. This is a subtest then.
That's correct.
Okay, and this is on top of page 10. You indicated his ability to recall word pairs over multiple trials was in the average range, correct?
Correct.
And his ability to retain the information after a delay with interference was in the average range.
Correct.
Under the visual memory index of that same test, Mr. Murphy's ability to recall visual and special details was average, both immediately and after a delay, right?
Correct.
And his ability to view a design and draw it immediately from memory was in the low average range. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Going to your language area, are we still under that same general test, or is this a different area now?
These are different tests.
Okay, these are different. Under language, in the expressive vocabulary test, second edition, which measures word knowledge and expressive language, you put his score in the low average range of expressive language functioning, correct?
Correct.
His expressive language score was 31 points higher, significantly greater than his receptive language score. Is that right?
Correct.
There's also a visuospatial ability test, and I'm going to have you explain or pronounce that for us. The REY test, Ray.
The Ray Asterisk Complex Figure Test.
Thank you. A test of constructional ability, visual constructional ability, and visual memory. You indicated that Mr. Murphy obtained a 16.5 of a possible 36 points, correct?
Correct.
And that put him within the average range.
Correct.
And then in the Hooper Visual Organization Test, he again scored in the average range.
Correct.
You can go to your page 4 of your report. Thank you, sir. Mr. Murphy reported crashing a golf cart into a car wash when he was a little boy, right?
Correct.
And he said he hit his head on the steering wheel. Is that right?
Correct.
And he had headaches.
Correct.
Now, was he the only source of that information?
Correct.
And then at age 14, he was a passenger in a car that crashed into a tree, right?
Correct.
But he didn't seek medical attention in that case. He ran away from the crash, right?
Correct.
And in that instance, in that case, that crash into a tree, he's not reporting to you any kind of head injury, correct?
Correct.
And then he reported to you that in 2015, when he was 18 years old, he fractured his third metatarsal bone of his right hand, correct?
Correct.
And he was treated, I believe, in the emergency room in Jacksonville. But that had nothing to do with his head, correct?
Correct.
Okay. In 2017, when he was 20 years old, he was taken by fire rescue to Shands Jacksonville ER after he was shot in the groin, and you talked about the injury that affected his penis and then went into his thigh, correct?
Correct.
Again, that had nothing to do with his head, correct? That he didn't suffer any kind of injury to his head because of that, correct?
Correct.
And then about a little less than a month later, he's involved in another motor vehicle accident. He's taken to the ER at Shands. And that's when you talked about the Glasgow Coma Scale of 13 out of 15, is that right?
Correct.
Now, there wasn't just one CT scan taken during that hospitalization. There were multiple CT scans taken, correct?
Correct.
All right. And none of them showed any kind of an acute intracranial hemorrhage, correct?
Correct.
Or
No bleeding.
or bleeding, or mass effect, or territorial infarct.
No broken bones.
No broken bones, no brain swelling, right?
Correct.
Okay. They were normal.
Well, it said, you're right, there was no bleeding.
No bleeding. Okay. He did break his leg, correct?
Correct.
And was treated for that.
Correct.
And then in 2023, when he was 26 years old, he was a passenger, the rear seat passenger in a car that was hit by a truck, correct?
Correct.
And he was taken to Jacksonville Shands, where he's diagnosed with a pain in his forearm, a pain in his elbow, and a pain in his left hand, correct?
And his back.
And his back, yes. And in fact, there was a CT scan done at that time on his lumbar spine,
Correct.
all right, which found no I don't know how to say that, osseous abnormality.
Correct.
He had x-rays done of his forearm, his elbow, and his hand, which revealed no fracture, dislocation, or any kind of abnormality, right?
Correct.
Now, it says in your report, he reported hitting his head very hard. Was that what he reported to you?
Correct.
Okay, so that's not in the medical records, correct?
Correct.
Going back to when Miss Beeks had taken him to the Christian Academy when he was in 8th grade, Mr. Murphy told you, Davion Murphy told you that he did much better academically and graduated from elementary school in that facility, correct?
Correct.
And talking again about Miss Beeks and her commitment to her son, at one point, I believe when he was in either 9th or 10th grade, she exercised what a lot of folks call tough love and kicked him out of the house, right?
Correct.
And he had to go stay with his grandmother, right?
Correct.
And that was for misbehavior, right?
Correct.
By his own admission, right?
Correct.
So you would agree with me, there was always someone there to take care of him, correct?
Correct.
You mentioned and you were asked questions about the FCAT testing, right?
Correct.
Okay. And that's the Florida Comprehensive Assessment Test.
Correct.
That's a test that is a standardized test, right?
Correct.
And it depends on what grade the content of the test, correct?
Correct.
And that's a test here in Florida that's given through multiple years in elementary, middle, and high school.
Correct.
And that is not only standardized, but it is a timed test, correct?
Correct.
At least in high school, it's not dissimilar to the SAT or similar tests, correct?
Correct.
Standardized test, that is testing accumulated knowledge.
Correct.
And when those tests were being conducted that you've discussed his performances on, there is no type of validity or effort testing that's being administered by the school, correct?
Correct.
Because that's not a forensic setting, right?
Correct.
So the score on that test is going to depend in large part on the effort of the student taking the test, correct?
Right. And it measures the ability.
Right. It measures their ability. But if they come in and they blow that test off, and for lack of a better way of saying it, and they just have no desire to take it, or they don't really care, or even if they get halfway through it and they get tired, or they just don't want to do any more work, it's going to affect the results, correct?
Correct.
Their effort is, right?
Correct. But this was repeated over and over and over.
Right. And if the child had the same mindset towards taking standardized tests, that he didn't like taking them, it could have the same effect over repeated tests, right?
Perhaps.
Now, standardized tests, there's a lot of literature that they're not really good for a lot of people, right? A lot of
Correct.
people just don't perform well on standardized tests. They don't like the time structure. They don't like being pressure tested like that, right?
Perhaps.
The only IQ test in his history before you tested him was the WISC, right?
Correct.
And the Wechsler Intelligence Scale for Children, that is, you indicated that the WACE is a gold standard test for intelligence, correct?
Correct.
For adults,
Correct.
right. And the WISC is a gold standard test for children, correct?
Correct. But any IQ test for children has to be discussed with a caveat that the age, which is 8 years old, and the developmental period of the individual. So it could change, and it was recommended that he be retested, but that didn't happen.
Right. But it could certainly stay consistent, correct?
Well, it should, but again, like I said, one really can't extrapolate from a test that was given at the age of 8 or 9, where I mentioned yesterday that puberty would be, or adolescence would be a better indication of consistent IQ.
So the only IQ tests we have in this case are going to be a WISC that is administered to an 8-year-old little boy in a school setting, who is going to be of the tender mind of probably not having a massive bias like the defendant has in this case, correct? Or motivation to not exercise full effort, right? Genuine effort.
Well,
Versus-
you just mentioned that the FCATs he doesn't, and this he does. I mean, again, we have the assumption is that he gave full effort, and the consistent performance
Right.
is what we look at.
Right, and I'm not talking about his effort full on in that test. He could have very well have scored higher if his effort had been better in that test.
Well, we don't know that.
Right, well, you brought it up, so that's why I'm asking you.
Well, again, we take at face value what we have. We don't
So
we
what-
don't
okay.
we don't say it could have been higher, it could have
Right.
been lower. It is what
Yeah.
it is.
Well, before you interrupted me, the point I was making and the question I'm asking is, we have a test that he took at 8 years old where he doesn't have the same bias that he would have today sitting in this courtroom versus a test, the only other test that we have in front of us, the test you administered in the county jail, telling him that you're there, trying to evaluate for mental health mitigation with him sitting there facing capital murder and potential death sentence. We have that test. So we have these two tests at the opposite ends of his life, correct?
Correct.
So we don't have IQ tests that could have been or should have been done throughout school multiple times tracking his intelligence in a much more, let's just say, environment that would be conducive to genuine effort, right?
Correct.
And his test at that time at 8 years old was an 81. You told us that yesterday, correct?
Correct.
That would rank him in the low average range, right?
Correct.
Just that score.
Correct.
Okay. May I have one moment, Your Honor? May I have one moment, real quick, Your Honor? Judge, if we could, before the witness and the jury is brought in, I was going to ask the court, I think the next witness, if I'm not mistaken, is Rubino, is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
I was going to ask for if we could take a break, either lunch break, or if I could have an extended 15 to 20-minute break before he testifies. I need to consult with my expert witness, who I just retained, basically over the weekend. I just got Dr. Rubino's deposition late yesterday and provided it to him. He has not produced a report. He's given me a PowerPoint with multiple images on it. And I haven't really had a chance to communicate with my expert about it.
Okay.
Your Honor, I have my doctor, if the court wants to call him out of
Dr. Collins?
Collins.
Yeah,
Are you ready to go with Collins?
yeah,
Yes.
I can do
Oh, I am.
Collins.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can at least do his direct. How long do you think you'll be on direct, Danny?
Probably 45 minutes.
Or maybe we could do that up to lunch or something.
Do
That's
what?
up to the court. We could do direct before lunch and I could cross him after
Yeah, that's
lunch.
fine.
Okay, all right.
I do have a 1 o'clock, but I,
No,
Yes.
I know,
Yeah,
I know.
yeah,
So
no,
we're
I
just,
figured you
yes,
would.
it's fine. No, so you're gonna do your redirect of Dr. Eisenstein, and then if you wanna go ahead and call Collins out of order, that's fine. If you're ready to go?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, welcome back. All right, let's bring our jury in. Okay.
All rise. All jurors are in judgment.
Okay, very good. Everyone have a seat. All right, and redirect, Ms. Toomey.
Good morning, Doctor. All right, just want to follow up on a few things with you. The state indicated that pretty much every time you evaluate someone, that you always recommend brain scans. That's what the state had indicated to you.
Judge, I would object. I never said that. That's a misrepresentation.
All right, well, why don't you rephrase your question?
Do you recommend that everyone that you evaluate get an MRI or a CAT scan or a PET scan of their brain?
No.
Would you agree that individuals in your training and experience, individuals that have been charged with first-degree premeditated murder, have a lot of mental health problems?
Objection leading.
I'm sorry, what was the question? Do a lot of people?
No, individuals charged with first-degree premeditated murder.
Just generally speaking?
Yeah, leading in relevance.
Yeah, sustain the objection.
Would you come here and testify?
Objection. Self-serving.
Well, why don't you rephrase? Go ahead, rephrase. Ask your question.
Would you jeopardize your career?
Objection, Your Honor. Self-serving, improper, and leading.
Go ahead and finish the question.
Would you jeopardize your career and fabricate your testimony?
Absolutely not.
Is there any reason to believe that when you evaluated Davion Murphy and met with him those 7 times over 20 hours, that he was faking?
No, he was not faking.
If you had been provided the police reports and any video evidence regarding the charges in this case, would that change your opinions that you offered today or yesterday?
No.
The state asked you questions about Davion Murphy's credibility during these evaluations that you performed. Do you recall that?
Correct.
The psychoeducational evaluation that was conducted when Davion was 8 years old, do you believe that is false?
No,
Have any reason to believe that was made up?
no,
What about the ESE courses? You think that a school would place a child in special courses for no reason?
no,
What about the IEP program?
Objection, vagueness, objection to speculation.
Just rephrase your question as to what?
Was Davion Murphy placed or given an IEP program in school?
Objection, asked and answered. Direct.
Overruled. Go ahead, you can answer.
You can answer.
he was given IEPs every year, the same way that he was given,
Objection, non-responsive.
Overruled, go ahead.
the same way that he was given the FCATs as a means to measure, assess, and place him in the most appropriate academic setting.
Do you know what goes or is involved in obtaining or getting a child in an IEP program at school?
It certainly requires special evaluation and assessment and looking at the child in a more comprehensive manner.
And children aren't placed in these programs just willy-nilly, right?
Correct.
Objection, speculation.
Overruled, go ahead.
The fact that Davion Murphy repeated the fourth grade, you think that's
Objection, Your Honor.
false?
Asked it, or outside of the scope of cross.
Rephrase your question.
Do you
Mr.
believe?
Sonardi, Ms. Toomey's got this, okay? Go ahead.
Did you review Davion Murphy's school records?
Yes,
Okay. And did you find anything in there for you to believe that it was false?
Judge, objection again to speculation.
Overruled, just, did you find any, go ahead, you can answer.
no,
The fact that he repeated the fourth grade, do you think that was fabricated?
no,
Objection, asked and
That
answered.
is sustained.
And the fact that he received a level 1 in reading in 4th, 5th, and 6th grade on the FCAT, do you believe that to be true?
correct.
Judge, I'm gonna object that this has all been covered in direct. It's asked and answered.
I understand, but based upon the cross, go ahead, you can answer.
And in your experience, how long have you been doing this again? I apologize.
Over 40 years.
Oh, in your 40 years, and I think you said 30 years in evaluating defendants, or?
Correct.
How often in your career do you find defendants lying to the cops?
Objection.
I'm gonna sustain the objection. That's an improper question, Ms. Toomey.
Would that, hypothetically, if an individual lied to the cops, would that have any bearing on the evaluations and the opinions that you're offering before this jury today?
Objection, relevance.
You can answer. Go ahead.
No,
Adaptive behavior and adaptive functioning. Would you believe, or would you say that the adaptive behavior that was described by the state regarding this entire offense would be equivalent to having survival skills on the street?
Objection, speculation, vagueness.
What do you mean? You need to clarify. What do you mean by adaptive skills as to this whole
Judge,
case?
can we approach real quick?
Yeah, come on up.
Do you recall the facts recited to you about how this offense occurred by the state? when they were
Correct.
questioning you on direct? Does that change your opinions at all?
No.
The state addressed with you Davion Murphy's employment history. He had, what, 8 months at one place, one job, 6 months at another, and 2 months at another job. Is that the extent of pretty much his employment history?
Correct.
Would you say that substance abuse goes hand in hand with having mental health issues?
Correct.
Why is that?
Individuals that abuse substance generally self-medicate. Their psychological state is it's compromised. Feelings of depression, feelings of loneliness and anxiety that he all described. So it's very common, typical, that an individual will use substances because that will make them feel better. Of course, it's not controlled, but substances are like, in a certain sense, like taking medication or self-medication.
Self-medicating.
Correct.
And you met with Mr. Murphy, Davion Murphy, in person, right?
Correct.
Not by Zoom, right?
Correct.
And you met with him for over 20 hours, right?
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. May this witness be excused?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, doctor. You're free to go. Okay, and I think we're going to be calling another witness.